My mom used to have a saying when I was a kid, the poor will always be among us. Why does it always have to be the same family? So why can't we not do the work that children have opportunities to break the cycle? So you will have a gap that's identified. You'll get a bunch of advocates and well-wishers who then go after it and then begin to organize that program. They may not get the funding to do exactly what they and the community need because the funder have a different set of ideas. And then the organization sometimes will go after funding wherever the funding is, which is not necessarily lined up with what the community needs are. And some of the time the community, they know what they need, they know what their children need, but they don't know where to go to get it. And that disconnect means that everything is fractured, everything is a patchwork, and then there are these cracks between the patches. And these are the people that fall through the cracks. So the idea for support for success is if all the providers form a safety net, then they are linked to each other. So therefore, they can transition the child from one to the other without the gap. That will make such a big difference.
Here in Kingston, we have a lot of young mothers, and some of the programs that were here before the changes were geared to that. It was a safe place for some of those young moms. And I mean, I'm a young mom myself. I mean, I was 22 and I was pregnant at 23 when I had her, but some of these girls are like 16, 17, 18.
One of the teachers came up to me and asked me a question, saying, "Are you okay?" Or, "I'm noticing that you've been wearing the same clothing." I was like, "No, I'm not okay. You know, I need help. I'm homeless." She got me hooked up with a social worker and a shelter. They helped me got a job for a bit. They got me clean off of pills and drugs.
Psychiatrist diagnosed me with generalized anxiety disorder and depression and social anxiety and agoraphobia. And it was just like see a counselor once a month and then don't have to see them for another month. And
my dad was kind of in and out of my life. My mom was trying to make it, trying to feed all of us 4 kids. You know, my grandma would come by. It was a lot to deal with because the circumstances were kind of, they were less than glamorous, I would say. It was kind of sad, but at the time I was too young to even know that life was kind of not where it should be.
Like, all my life I knew I needed support, but it was hard to take the first step. Like, it was hard to admit that I was an alcoholic and a drug addict, you know. And I was wondering, why am I like this, you know? And I had to think about the way I grew up and what happened to me and acknowledge that and reach out for counseling and just to tell someone, like, what happened to me, you know? And so I can move on and have a good life for my kids.
Some of the barriers that I was having with services was transportation and hours. I would have to like go to an appointment around like 12-ish when I was at school, and I wasn't able to get there at all. I'd have to cancel, rebook another appointment. That wouldn't be like till like 2 or a month later for a next meeting.
Getting up and every day and going and doing something and filling that purpose, whereas when it stopped, it was like, okay, yeah, being a mom is great, but when you're at home in those 4 walls every day having a one-sided conversation, it can get to you.
I feel like I'm never gonna be able to get the help that I need, and like I'm always just gonna be another client on another wait list and never actually get help with my mental health.
The challenges I found were mostly childcare for parents and like trust.
It took me 4 years to find the actual right social worker. It just takes time because most of the youth have like trust issues. They rather get to know you and then they'll actually open up and talk to you about their mental health and their struggles. Every
services that I wanted, I basically had to find myself. And some services are hard to find. Like I didn't know this service was there. I didn't know, like some are not as open as other services. Like you don't know that that's there because they don't really promote it as well as they should be.
Just make it easier for people with mental illness. There's a lot of us who we're suffering, and I feel like, we need the help.
When we met with the youth advisory group, they really worked through what made a difference in their lives when. Support was sometimes family, sometimes it was a teacher, sometimes it was a program, but the support existed in the community and the difference that made in their lives to get them to the next phase successfully. So the youth advisor group were very clear in articulating that supports being in place is what is required to assist more youth to succeed. And for all of those, it was support at the right time.